What President Trump should have said is that there were really bad people on all sides. Good afternoon. This is Plain Jane in my own living room in rural Virginia, just a little bit outside Charlottesville, which is what I'm going to talk about. In the summer of 2017, as it wore on, August 12th loomed as a horrible hurricane ahead of us on the road that we were bound to drive into. The city of Charlottesville, for legal reasons, was unable to stop the Unite the Right rally, which was to occur on that date. And then they were stymied in their attempts to move the rally to a place outside of the center of town where it would have been easier to control. Klansmen, neo-Nazis, militias, and assorted misfits were slated to show up. There was online chatter before that event among these groups and among Antifa anarchists on the left, making it really unlikely that anyone would be able to keep a lid on the whole thing. On that day, my son and I sold bread at a farmer's market in Mineral, Virginia. When it was over, we planned to drive down Market Street in Charlottesville and to crane our necks and see what was happening in the park around the controversial Robert E. Lee statue. Little did we know. First, after unloading the pickup truck, I thought I'd watch some live footage on YouTube. Chaos and violence were everywhere. In front of the library where my son and I had read Dr. Seuss books when he was a toddler. All over the park where we had eaten picnics. We'd had picnics when we couldn't afford to go into a restaurant. And people were clogging, all manner of turmoil was clogging the street where we had planned to drive. Local clergy marched and sang. People in Klan hoods and strange costumes and other people in street dress were mixing it up all over the place as cops stood by, and I still don't know why. Confederate flags had been weaponized. A black guy had a homemade flamethrower trained on a white guy with a flag. Another person drew a gun. No way were we going to Charlottesville that day. Sorry, son. But others did, obviously. Jason Kessler and his Unite the Right bunch. Counter-protesters came to show the white nationalists that they were not welcome in their fair city, even though the governor had suggested it might be smart to stay away from the whole thing. Well, they certainly weren't welcome in my former stomping grounds, that's for sure. The rest of the people there, they would have been gawkers and the kind of people that need to be wherever the action is. Oh, and don't forget, people who wanted to fight and get away with it. I assumed that the guys with the costumes and weapons wanted to intimidate, recruit, and make the news. And teacher think that is, those people over there are creating such a fuss in such an obvious way that they really must want attention. A giant cone of silence should have descended on Lee Park, like the one in the 60s show, Get Smart. And it would have sucked the air out of their fantasy. Folks would have peeked in through the plexiglass and then kept on going. Except according to American Civil Liberties Union legalese, I may be paraphrasing a little here, even slime balls have the right to protected speech. People were wounded. Heather Heyer was killed when an Ohio guy drove down 4th Street and crashed through a crowd that she was part of. Now, people think of Charlottesville and white supremacy in the same thought bubble. I've gotten the impression that they feel sorry for me because I live around here, and I used to actually live a couple of blocks from where all of this occurred. But there is some perverse satisfaction, at least I admit that it's perverse, in seeing a city that thinks so highly of itself get its comeuppance. Now locals feel compelled to signal using window and lawn signs that no matter what you've heard, we're not haters here. We love everybody. We love you even though we've never even met you. President Trump said that there were very fine people on all sides, but he said that he didn't mean the Nazis and the Klan. And we know that he didn't mean Antifa. That there were really bad people on all sides is what he should have said, because it sure did look that way. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff, please.